Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln Wheat pennies coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of a tiny copper coin that could make a massive impact on your wallet. That's right. We're talking about the legendary 1957 wheat penny from the United States of America. At first glance, it may look like any old coin you'd find lying around in a drawer or rattling in your change jar. But this humble little penny hides a story of rarity, hidden errors, and collector obsession. So grab your magnifying glass and stay tuned, because what you're about to learn might just change how you look at your spare change forever. Let's rewind the clock to the year 1957. The Cold War was heating up, Elvis Presley was topping the charts, and America was buzzing with optimism and innovation. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing millions of 1-cent coins, wheat pennies, to be exact. Named for the pair of wheat stalks on the reverse side, these coins were part of American currency from 1909 to 1958. The wheat design symbolizes prosperity and abundance, fitting for a growing and ambitious nation. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the beloved 16th President of the United States, facing right. His calm, determined expression reminds us of leadership in uncertain times. Below Lincoln's image, the date 1957 is clearly struck. But not all 1957 pennies were created equal, and that's where things get exciting. You see, while the Mint struck hundreds of millions of these coins in 1957, both from the Philadelphia and Denver mints, not every penny came out perfectly. Some were struck with unusual variations, oddities, and minting errors that were never meant to leave the facility. But a few did. And those few are what collectors dream about. Among the most sought-after 1957 wheat pennies are those with rare double-die errors. This happens when the coin is struck more than once but slightly off alignment, causing a ghostly doubling of the date or lettering. The phrase, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," may appear slightly duplicated, almost like a shadow. If you find this on your coin, you could be looking at a serious payday. Another rare find is the off-center strike, where the coin was not properly aligned in the press, leading to part of the design being cut off. These minting mishaps are exciting because they turn a common coin into a one-of-a-kind collectible. The more dramatic and obvious the error, the more valuable the coin. Then there are rarities with repunched mint marks, where the letter D for the Denver Mint was accidentally punched into the coin more than once in different positions, creating a ghost image around it. And let's not forget the coin struck on the wrong metal planchet. A wheat penny made on a dime planchet? That's the kind of unicorn collectors live for. What makes the 1957 wheat penny so irresistible to collectors isn't just its age or copper glow, it's the mystery of the unknown. Every time you come across one of these coins, there's a small chance you could be holding something truly rare. And because these coins are no longer in production and haven't been for over 6 decades, their numbers are slowly dwindling, especially in excellent condition. Now, here's the kicker. A perfectly preserved, uncirculated 1957 wheat penny, especially one with a rare error, can fetch a jaw-dropping amount in the collector's market. You may not believe it, but one such penny, yes, a single 1-cent coin, was sold for a staggering $78,000. That's right. $78,000 for a coin most people overlook every day. So, next time you're sifting through your spare change or going through a jar of old coins, keep your eyes peeled for the 1957 wheat penny. You never know, you might be holding a tiny copper fortune in the palm of your hand. Top 2, we're diving into a very special piece of American history, the 1945 wheat penny. This isn't just any old 1-cent coin. In some rare cases, it could be worth more than your car, your college tuition, or even your house. So grab your coin jars, check your collections, and pay close attention, because if you've got a 1945 wheat penny sitting unnoticed somewhere, you could be holding a hidden treasure. Let's start with the basics. The 1945 wheat penny was minted in the United States during a very dramatic moment in world history. World War II was coming to an end. Troops were returning home, the nation was shifting gears from wartime to peacetime, and industries were booming. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing millions of these humble copper coins to fuel the growing economy. In fact, more than 1 billion wheat pennies were made in 1945 alone. So at first glance, you might think this coin is far too common to be valuable, but here's where things get interesting: just because a coin is old doesn't make it valuable. And just because it was made in large numbers doesn't mean that every single one is the same. What separates the rare from the ordinary is all in the details, errors, condition, and the coin's story. And the 1945 wheat penny has all the ingredients for hidden rarity. First, let's talk about the design. On the front of the coin is the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln, just as he appeared on the very first Lincoln cent back in 1909. Strong, dignified, and quietly powerful. Above his head, the words, "In God We Trust," curve along the top edge. To the left is the word "Liberty," and to the right, the year, 1945. On the reverse side, you'll see 2 wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. This wheat design, used from 1909 to 1958, gives the coin its nickname, the wheat penny, but not all 1945 wheat pennies were created equal. Some have rare and unusual features that drive collectors wild. And it's these rare versions that can fetch jaw-dropping prices. Let's start with double die errors. These happen when the coin's image is stamped twice by mistake, but slightly misaligned. That creates a visible doubling effect on the lettering or numbers, especially on "Liberty," the date, or "In God We Trust." A clear double die on a 1945 penny is extremely rare, but when it appears, the value skyrockets. Then there are coins struck on the wrong planchet. During wartime, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different metals due to copper shortages. That meant coins were sometimes accidentally stamped on steel or other leftover planchets. If you have a 1945 penny that's unusually light, silver-colored, or sticks to a magnet, you might have one of these rare error coins. And that could change your life. There are also off-center strikes, coins that were misaligned during minting. These pennies look lopsided or might even have part of the design missing. The more dramatic the error, the more desirable it becomes for collectors, and let's not forget about condition. A penny that's been sitting in someone's pocket for years is going to look worn down. But a coin that was carefully preserved, with its original red copper luster still shining, is in a whole different league. These uncirculated or mint-state coins are incredibly rare today, and their value can soar. What makes the 1945 wheat penny especially exciting is that, while it was a common coin in its time, finding one today with the right error and in pristine condition is like finding a needle in a haystack. It's a thrill for collectors, because they never know when they might stumble across one in a collection, a garage sale, or even loose change. And here's the part you've been waiting for. One extremely rare 1945 wheat penny, with the perfect combination of a mint error and near-flawless condition, was once valued at a staggering $95,000. That's right. $95,000. For a single 1-cent coin. So the next time you see a penny, don't just toss it aside. Look at the date. Check for odd markings, unusual coloring, or doubled letters. You never know, you might be holding something truly extraordinary. Top 3, we're talking about a small but powerful piece of American history, the 1953 wheat penny. And by the end of this story, you'll understand exactly why collectors are paying eye-popping amounts for this unassuming little copper coin. So sit back, relax, and listen carefully, because if you've got some old coins lying around, this could be the video that changes everything. Let's rewind the clock to 1953. It was the early days of Dwight D. Eisenhower's presidency. America was coming out of the Korean War, televisions were becoming household staples, and the country was booming with post-war optimism. Amid all this change, the U.S. Mint was hard at work producing currency to support a fast-growing economy. And among the coins they struck that year was a humble 1-cent piece, the Lincoln wheat penny. Now, to most people, the 1953 wheat penny might look like just another old coin. It's copper, it's small, and it carries the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front, just like every other Lincoln cent. Above his head reads, "In God We Trust," to the left is the word "Liberty," and to the right, 1953. On the reverse, you'll see the classic wheat ears flanking the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, a design that gives the coin its beloved nickname, the wheat penny. But here's the twist. Not all 1953 wheat pennies are created equal. Millions of these coins were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But a small handful of them contain tiny mistakes, minting errors that slipped past the strict quality checks of the U.S. Mint. And for coin collectors, these errors are pure gold. Let's talk about what makes a 1953 wheat penny rare and, in some cases, extremely valuable. Point 1. Of the most sought-after types is the double die error. This happens when a coin is struck twice by the die, but the alignment is off just enough to create a ghost-like doubling effect on the letters or numbers. If you spot a 1953 wheat penny with doubling on the word "Liberty," the date, or "In God We Trust," you could be looking at something incredibly special. Then there's the off-center strike, where the coin wasn't properly centered in the machine, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted. The more dramatic the off-center alignment, the rarer, and more valuable, the coin becomes. Another treasure for collectors is the repunched mint mark, especially on coins from Denver or San Francisco. In 1953, mint marks were punched by hand. Sometimes, a letter like D was accidentally stamped in the wrong place, or punched more than once, leaving behind faint shadows or overlaps. These small details are like hidden signatures that make certain coins unique. There's even more. Some extremely rare 1953 wheat pennies were accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchets, discs meant for nickels or foreign coins. If you find a penny that's unusually light, heavy, or oddly colored, you might want to have it tested. These error coins are among the rarest in the hobby, and of course, condition matters more than anything else. A 1953 wheat penny that's been worn down over the decades might only be worth a few cents. But one that has never been circulated, a bright, sharp, mint-state coin with full detail and original copper shine, that's the dream. These coins are graded on a scale, and the highest grades can command unbelievable prices at auction. Now imagine this: you're flipping through an old collection, or maybe helping a relative clean out their attic. You find a tiny coin tucked away in a box. You take a closer look. It's a 1953 wheat penny. The color is rich, the details are crisp, and wait a minute, there's something unusual about the lettering. Could it be? Is it an error coin? Could it be uncirculated? That's the excitement of coin collecting. It's not just about money, it's about the thrill of the hunt, the history in your hand, and the chance that something ordinary might actually be extraordinary. And now for the moment you've been waiting for. One rare 1953 wheat penny, in nearly perfect condition and featuring a dramatic mint error, was once sold for an astonishing $86,000. Yes, you heard that right, $86,000. For a coin most people wouldn't even glance at twice. So the next time you come across an old penny, don't toss it aside. Look closely. Inspect the details. Check the year. Because that tiny piece of copper might just be worth far more than you think. Top 4, we're diving into the mystery and magic of a coin that most people have no idea could hold such incredible value. We're talking about the 1950 wheat penny from the United States of America. Now I know what you're thinking. It's just a penny. Just a 1-cent coin. But what if that single coin in your pocket turned out to be the key to unlocking thousands of dollars? That's the beauty of the world of coin collecting. History and hidden value can lie in the smallest places. Let's go back to the year 1950. It was a turning point in America. World War II was behind us, but the world was still adjusting. The Korean War had just begun. The U.S. economy was growing, suburban life was on the rise, and new technology was entering homes across the country. But while the world was changing quickly, one thing remained steady: coins like the 1950 wheat penny were being produced in large numbers for everyday transactions. At first glance, the 1950 penny looks simple. On the front, the timeless face of Abraham Lincoln, steady, noble, and strong. Above him, the words, "In God We Trust." To the left, "Liberty," and to the right, the year, 1950. Flip it over and you see the classic wheat ears arching around 1 cent and United States of America. This reverse design, known as the wheat back or wheat ears, was used from 1909 to 1958. It's a nod to American agriculture, growth, and prosperity, values that defined the country during those decades. But here's where things get interesting. Not all 1950 wheat pennies are equal. In fact, some are worth far more than 1 cent. The key to unlocking a penny's real value lies in two things: rarity and condition. And in the world of coin collecting, rarity often hides in plain sight. Let's talk about mint errors. These are the tiny mistakes that occur during the production of coins, mistakes that were never supposed to happen. But when they slip through unnoticed, they become the holy grail for collectors. For the 1950 wheat penny, some of the most sought-after errors include Doubled Die Obverse, where the date or lettering on the front of the coin appears slightly doubled. This isn't damage, it's a striking error, and it makes the coin incredibly unique. Another treasure among 1950 pennies are the off-center strikes. Imagine a coin that looks misaligned, with part of the design missing or cut off. That's a minting error caused by improper placement of the coin blank. The more extreme the off-center error, the rarer the coin. You also have repunched mint marks, especially on the D mint mark for coins produced in Denver. In those days, mint marks were punched by hand, and sometimes the mark was misaligned or done more than once. These small inconsistencies drive up the value for collectors who are always searching for coins with personality and character. And then there's the matter of the planchet, the blank metal disc that the coin is struck onto. Every now and then, a penny ends up on the wrong type of planchet, like one intended for a dime or a foreign coin. These are extremely rare, but when found, they can command incredible prices. But errors aren't the only thing that make a 1950 wheat penny valuable. Condition plays a huge role. Most pennies from that era have been through decades of circulation. They're scratched, faded, and worn down. But a coin that has never been used? One that still has its original luster, with every detail of Lincoln's face and the wheat ears perfectly preserved? That's a different story altogether. These are the coins that collectors dream of. Graded by professionals, a high-grade uncirculated 1950 penny with an error is like gold in the coin world. Now think about this: you might have one sitting in a drawer, in a box of old coins passed down from a grandparent, or mixed in with some change. What looks like an old penny to most people could actually be a rare and valuable collector's item to the trained eye. This is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. It's like treasure hunting, except the treasure fits in your pocket. Each coin has its own history, its own journey, and in rare cases, its own extraordinary value. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. One incredibly rare 1950 wheat penny, in pristine uncirculated condition and featuring a dramatic mint error, has sold for an unbelievable price. Are you ready for it? That tiny 1-cent coin sold for an astonishing $89,000. Yes, you heard it right. $89,000. For a penny. So the next time you come across an old coin, don't just pass it off as pocket change. Take a closer look. Examine the date. Look for oddities. You might be holding something far more valuable than you ever imagined. Top 5, we're diving deep into the incredible story of the 1954 wheat penny, an ordinary-looking coin with extraordinary potential. So don't blink, and listen closely, because this 1-cent piece might just be the most valuable thing you've overlooked. Let's take a moment to set the scene. The year was 1954. America was riding a wave of post-war prosperity. The suburbs were growing, televisions were lighting up living rooms, and rock and roll was just beginning to shake up the music world. While all of this was happening, the U.S. Mint was quietly churning out millions of Lincoln cents, including one special version, the wheat penny minted in 1954. At a glance, it might look like any other penny. On the front, the proud and stoic profile of Abraham Lincoln. Above his head, the words, "In God We Trust." To the left, Liberty. And to the right, the date, 1954. Flip it over, and you see two stylized wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent and United States of America. This reverse design, simple, strong, and symbolic, was used from 1909 through 1958 and gives the coin its name, the wheat penny, but don't let its plain appearance fool you. Because hidden among the many 1954 wheat pennies are a handful of coins with rare mistakes, errors so unusual, they've transformed a simple copper coin into a highly sought-after collector's item. Now, let's talk about what makes these coins valuable. It's all about the combination of rarity, condition, and one-of-a-kind errors. First, there are the double die errors. This happens during the minting process when the coin is struck twice by the die, but the two impressions don't line up perfectly. This creates a doubling effect, usually visible on the lettering, like Liberty or In God We Trust, or sometimes even on the numbers and the date. If you spot a clear double die on your 1954 penny, you may be holding something that's worth far more than its face value. Then there are off-center strikes. These occur when the blank coin, called a planchet, is not correctly positioned in the minting press. The result? A coin that looks misaligned or like part of the design is missing. These errors are easy to spot, and collectors love them. The more dramatic the off-center shift, the higher the value. Another fascinating error is the repunched mint mark, commonly seen on coins from Denver. In 1954, mint marks like the D for Denver were punched by hand, and sometimes they were stamped more than once in slightly different positions. This leaves behind a visible shadow effect, known as a repunched mint mark. If your 1954 penny has one of these, it's far from ordinary, but the rarest of all might be coins struck on the wrong type of metal. Occasionally, a penny was accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a different coin, like a silver dime or a foreign denomination. These wrong planchet errors are extremely rare, and when one surfaces, collectors go absolutely wild. Of course, all of this becomes even more exciting when the coin is in exceptional condition. Most pennies from 1954 have seen decades of wear, scratches, dull color, worn details. But if you find one that has never been circulated, one that still shines with its original red copper glow, you've got something truly special. High-grade coins with little to no wear are incredibly rare and often graded by professionals. These coins can bring in big money, especially when combined with one of the rare errors we just talked about. So, why is the 1954 wheat penny so exciting for collectors? Because it represents a perfect storm. Millions were made, but very few were preserved. Some were minted with tiny, rare errors that make them one of a kind. And today, collectors around the world are constantly searching for these tiny copper marvels, hoping to find that one in a million. Now imagine this. You're sorting through an old collection passed down from your grandfather. Or maybe you're sifting through a jar of change you've kept for years. You spot an old penny, look at the date, and it says 1954. You examine it a little closer, and there's something unusual about the lettering. Could it be a double die? Maybe it's perfectly centered, shiny, uncirculated. Could it be one of the rare few? And now, the moment you've been waiting for. One of these rare 1954 wheat pennies, featuring a dramatic mint error, preserved in stunning condition, was once sold for an absolutely mind-blowing price. Are you ready for it? That single 1-cent coin was valued at a jaw-dropping $82,000. Yes, you heard that right. $82,000. For a penny. So next time you're holding loose change or flipping through an old coin album, take a second look. That small copper coin might just be the most valuable thing you own. Thanks for watching, fellow treasure hunters and collectors. If this story lit a spark of curiosity in you, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story about coins that could change your life. Until next time, keep collecting, keep searching, and who knows? The next fortune might be hiding in the palm of your hand.